This is the W5SC repeater, PL110.9.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Does anyone need to use the repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet? This is Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima. My name is Brenda. I'll be your net control for this station of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time using the pro sign break and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me. And stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.88 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5SC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to W5SC.org right now for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts. General announcements, that's 1, 2, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events. 3, National Space Society events. 4, discussion topic of the evening. 5, What's Up. 6, Space Exploration and Space History. 7, Constellation of the Week. 8, Space Launches of the Week. 9, Recent Astronomical Discoveries. 10, Visible Satellite Passages over the next couple of days. 11, Astronomical Q&A, and 12, 73 round. All astronomers licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. So let's start with low power and short time check-ins. Please come now with your call sign, name, where you're transmitting from this evening. Go ahead.
This is Whiskey 5 Golf Uniform Sierra. It's Gus, far northeast Dallas.
Kilo, Golf 5, Uniform Foxtrot Romeo. Jacob, Farmers Branch, low power. Kilo India 5, Kilo Tango Zulu, Philip, White Rock Creek, low power.
Okay, I got W5GUS Gus and KG5 UFR Jacob. And got the KI5 and I missed the last 3. Would you please come back with those? Well, nothing heard, so let's go on to general check-ins. Please come now.
Kilo 5, Juliet Delta Whiskey, John and Coppell.
This is Alpha Charlie 5 Delta Lima, Dave, Louisville.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas.
November Victor 5 Foxtrot, Virginia in Fort Worth.
Kilo India 5, Uniform Juliet, Dustin in Dallas.
This is Whiskey 5 Delta Alpha Lima, Deborah in Louisville.
Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, Tom, Louisville.
This is KF5, JHA, Chaz. I was at the Frontiers of Flight Museum earlier today. Saw lots of you there, but now I'm in Mesquite.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo. Bill in Irving.
Kilo India 5 Victor November Bravo, Jeff in Little Elm.
This is Kilo 5 Whiskey Victor Lima, James in Carrollton.
Kilo India 5, Tango Quebec Papa, Jonathan in Dallas.
This is Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert Richardson.
Okay, gonna need a couple of fills, but we'll work through this. K5 JDW John, AC5 DL Dave, NT5 TM Tony, November Victor 5 Foxtrot. I hope I didn't butcher that. Virginia, good to see you today. And the one after that I totally missed. I didn't even get your name. Could you remember if you came right after Virginia?
Kilo India 5, Uniform Juliet, Dustin and Dallas.
Oh, very good. Kilo India 5, Uniform Juliet, Dustin. And W9, Delta Alpha Lima, Deborah. And KE5 ICX, Tom. KF5, JJ, Chaz. N5 BB, Bill. KI5 Victor November Bravo, Jeff. K5 Victor Lima, James. KI5 Echo Quebec Papa, John. And AA5 AH, Robert. I'm sorry, James, I missed part of it. I got the K something 5 Victor Lima. I missed the second letter. Could you come back with that?
Yes. Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James.
Very good. Kilo Golf, Whiskey Victor Lima, James. Thank you for coming to the net, everybody. And it was really great seeing people at the Frontiers of Flight Museum today for Moon Day. Okay, let's take some Echolink check-ins. I'll give you a few minutes, or a few seconds.
This is Kilo 5, Kilo Tango X-Ray, Kelly in Quinlan.
Okay. Kilo 5, Kilo Tango X-Ray, Kelly. Let's see. Let's take some more general check-ins.
Kilo India 5, Sierra X-Ray Echo.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill Swarm Ranch.
I think you had me as Echo Quebec Papa earlier, but that's Tango. This is Jonathan in Dallas.
This is November 8, Whiskey Romeo, N8 WWR, Romy, Great Britain.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill Farmers Branch.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth.
Okay, we had KI5 Sierra X-Ray Echo. I didn't get a name on that. Could you come back with it?
Yeah, Roger. Kilo India 5, Sierra X-Ray Echo, Brandon, Wiley, Texas.
Okay, Brandon, thank you. Then KF5 ZBL, Bill. And Jonathan, you doubled with Bill earlier, the first time you tried to check in. So I didn't get any of your call. Would you please fill us in on that?
Kilo India 5 Tango Quebec Papa Jonathan in Dallas.
Thank you. Kilo India 5 Tango Quebec Papa. Then we have November 8, Whiskey Whiskey Romeo for Romy, and KB9 SOK for Sean. Okay, do we have any other check-ins from any mode?
This is Kilo Golf 5 Oscar Quebec Kilo Dave in Garland.
Okay, so we got Kilo Golf 5 Oscar Quebec Kilo Dave. All right, well, let's just go ahead and get started. We'll get more check-ins in a little bit. So, do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? These can be ham, astronomical, space, or of general interest to licensed hams. Please come down.
November Tango 5 Tango Mike.
NT5TM, Tony, please go ahead.
Good evening, Brenda. I'd like to remind everyone that we do have a third Sunday coming up tomorrow. That means we probably have a meeting on the air and should have a Race East training net as well. You can check out the W5SC.org net list for more information, but of course the meeting on the air is at 7 and the Race East training net is at 8. This Monday is the third Monday. It's time for our second helping of ham fixins at 7 p.m. on this repeater. And next Saturday is the lecture in lab. We're building a component tester that tests transistors and other things. Kits are $20, first come, first serve. We're in the Dallas Medical Center, northeast corner of Webb Chapel and LBJ, at 10 o'clock in the morning in the main hospital building in the third floor community room. And that's the thing where you really should go to W5SC.org for more details. And finally, tonight's Afterglow movie is an MST3K version, so that they've added extra laps for you. It's not the inconsiderate mantis. It's not the really rude mantis. It's the deadly mantis. We'll be discussing it tonight, right here, at about 10:30 or so. Well, enjoy Skynet until the mantis gets you. Have a great night. NT5TM.
Okay, Tony, well, thank you. Yeah, that mantis didn't kill all that many people, and he was hungry. So, other announcements. The AMSAT Radio Amateur Satellite Group has 2 nets available to Dallas residents. On Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central, you'll need Echolink installed and be registered. You can find the net under Groups and AMSAT. Also, a live audio link is available on their website. It's amsatnet.com. This net originates in Houston. Dallas AMSAT Net East, Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, is every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on this repeater, 146.88 megahertz, PL 110.9 megahertz, Tuesdays. Tom, N5HYP, is the net control. All are welcome to check in. First Tuesday of the month is the DARC Club Night, so no AMSAT East that night. Dallas AMSAT Net West is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, 147.14 megahertz, PL 110.9 megahertz, positive offset. So, let's see, DARC hosted nets, Mondays. The first week is Ham Fixins, second week MCOM 101, third week Ham Fixins again, fourth week Geek Net, fifth week Surprise Net. If we told you what it was, it wouldn't be a surprise. On-air participation is encouraged. Then on Tuesdays, AMSAT East, 8 p.m., Q&As, info, and news for amateur satellites. Fridays, CERT City simulation, 8 p.m. Learn about emergency radio communications via CERT-trained amateur radio operators. Melissa, KI5GRH, is usually the net control. visit the most disaster-prone city in the universe every Friday. Search City, all are welcome. Then on Saturdays, we have TechNet from 7 to 8, and of course, Skynet. First and third Sundays, Dallas Amateur Radio Meeting Club Meeting on the Air, MODA. Then every day, the ARRL Net National Traffic System Training Net every night at 6:30 p.m. Central. All are welcome to check in on any or all of these nets. Tonight's Afterglow. Tom, there's nothing in the script here on the movie. Do you have something from another source, KE5ICX?
Yeah, I noticed that too. I do have it here. I think that means I should read it, so I will. So here it is, the Afterglow movie info. Fred, the praying mantis, picked up the phone and tried dialing people using his oversized mandibles. No one visited him, especially since he was north of Canada, somewhere in the Arctic, and this was a good way to pass the time. Fred dialed the phone, and his favorite foil, scientist Dr. Ned Jackson, picked up the phone. Ned answered, "Yes?" Fred responded, "Hello, do you have Prince Albert in a can?" Ned hung up, turned to Marge and exclaimed, "It's Fred again. I hung up on him." The phone rang again. It was Fred. "This is your last chance to renew your car warranty. Can you afford to not have coverage for expensive automotive repairs?" Ned hung up again and yelled at Marge, "This has got to stop." The phone started ringing. "Can we order a nuclear strike on Fred?" Marge responded, "You know you can't do that. Fred is our brother-in-law. He's always been difficult. You know that." Join us for the MST 3K version, as you heard earlier, The Deadly Mantis from 1957. Back to you, Brenda, KE5ICX.
Yes, I can't wait. All right, next up, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas, where and when you can look through a telescope. Chaz, KF5JHA, what do you got for us?
Why, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Brenda. The next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas club meeting will be held on Friday, July the 22nd. I believe that's in about 6 days from now. The meeting will be in person as well as on Zoom at 7:30 p.m. In person, it will be at the University of Dallas. That's on Campbell Road. The featured speaker will be Noah Pearson. He's going to be talking about black holes. It should be an interesting program. So let's see. The Saturday night public observing sessions have begun again. There would have been one tonight, except it was canceled because of the heat. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday night so that there could be an opportunity for live reports from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas public observing sessions. So you can check the website for TASS, texasastro.org, for up-to-date information and details about the meetings and public observing sessions. I hope that gives everyone the information they need. And this is KF5JHA, back to our net control. It was great seeing you, Brenda.
Likewise, it was great seeing you as well. I hope you had fun. I sure did. And let's just look forward to next year. Hopefully we'll do it again. So next up, National Space Society events and activities. Bill, N5BB, would you please let us know what's going on?
Certainly, Brenda. This is N5BB. It was good to see you, and Kelly, and Tom, and Chaz, and miscellaneous other people at Moon Day today. I was at the National Space Society table. This is N5BB. I happen to be the membership director of the National Space Society North Texas chapter. If you have any questions about National Space Society, want to figure out how to join us, you can send me an email at space@byrom.net. That's SPACE at BYROM.net, or n5bb@arrl.net. The meetings of the National Space Society, the local award-winning chapter meetings of the North Texas chapter, are on the second Sunday of the month. So our July meeting was this last Sunday, 6 days ago, and we had a video presentation from NASA about the Apollo missions. It actually started showing the Mercury and Gemini in preparation for the finale of all the Apollo missions. So I went through each of those missions. It was kind of interesting. I hadn't seen that video in a long time. Then we had this week an event at the Fort Worth Museum of Science and History in the Museum District in Fort Worth on Tuesday the 12th. And we were there for the streaming broadcast from NASA of the first, or at least four of the first images from the James Webb Space Telescope, which were quite amazing. And so we were there actually for many hours, like 6 hours or something. So that was kind of a good event. Today, of course, we were at Moon Day with several National Space Society members there, as well as some members that are ham radio operators that were, several of which were over at the AMSAT or DARC table. We do have some other events which will be coming up. If I can find them on my calendar. There's a number of internal events for National Space Society, which are forums, space forums, and so they come up typically every 2 or 3 weeks. There is a Space Day. That's what they're calling it, Space Day at the Fort Worth Museum of Science and History, and that will be on August the 20th, a Saturday. So right now, that's our next big in-person event will be the Space Day at Fort Worth Museum of Science and History. Again, if you have any questions about National Space Society, please contact me. This is N5BB. Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you. Do we have any more check-ins? This is WE50ZL.
November 5, Oscar Foxtrot, Clay, Mesquite.
Kilo Bravo 5, Delta Mike Charlie, Brian and Roanoke.
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey Jerry, Jade, you're welcome.
KE5, MMK, Adam in Plano.
Okay, we have November 5, Oscar Foxtrot Clay, KB5 DMC Brian, KG5 BZL J, and KE5 FFK. I didn't catch your name. Would you repeat it, please?
That's Kilo Echo 5, Mike Kilo, Adam in Plano.
Well, I got the call this time, KE5 Mike Kilo, but I still missed your name.
It's Adam. Alpha, Delta, Alpha, Mike.
Okay, Adam, thanks for the fill on that. Okay, let's move into our presentation. I hope nobody's just burned out looking at James Webb images. I can't get enough of them. It's better than Christmas lights. So I found an article which I just stole. I think it's space.com. I can't remember now. Anyway, where an astronomer explains the stunning, newly released first images from James Webb, and his name is Silas Laycock. So first we have a photo from the Webb, which was unveiled on July 11th, 2022, shows the galaxy cluster SMACS 0723 as it appeared 4.6 billion years ago. The James Webb Space Telescope team has released the first science quality images from the new telescope. In them are the oldest galaxies ever seen by human eyes, evidence of water on a planet 1,000 light years away, and incredible details showing the birth and death of stars. Webb's purpose is to explore origins of the universe, of galaxies, of stars, and of life. And the 5 images released on July 12th, 2022 make good on that promise. Once the suite of instruments on board all cooled down and were running smoothly, astronomers wasted no time in putting Webb to work. Each of the first images contains enough data to produce major scientific results on their own. Webb was designed to collect light across the entire red to mid-infrared spectrum, wavelengths of light that are blocked by Earth's atmosphere. And with its giant mirror and sunshade blocking infrared emitted by the sun, Earth, and Moon, Webb can produce images of a sharpness never before achieved by any other telescope. The buzz among professional astronomers has been electric since members of the Webb team shared tantalizing test images, and the real images are even better than anyone could have hoped for. During the presentation when the first images were released, Webb project scientist Jane Rigby remarked, "For Webb, there is no blank sky. Everywhere it looks, it sees distant galaxies. Most of the galaxies were invisible until now." So, ancient galaxies in the early universe. The first Webb image the world saw is of a galaxy cluster known to astronomers as SMACS 0723. It lies in the southern hemisphere sky and is 5.12 billion light years from Earth. The detail of the thousands of individual galaxies in the image is stunning. It's like the universe in high definition. The large white galaxies in the middle of the image belonging to the cluster and are similar in age to the Sun and Earth. Surrounding and interspersed among the cluster galaxies are more distant galaxies, but stretched into spectacular arcs as if seen through a magnifying glass. And that is exactly what is happening. The background galaxies are much farther from Earth, but appear magnified as their light is bent toward Earth by the gravity of a much closer cluster. In the background, you can see faint red galaxies scattered like rubies across the sky. These galaxies are even farther away. By measuring precise attributes of their light, astronomers can tell that they formed over 13 billion years ago and even determine the abundance of different elements in these early galaxies. Webb is not only producing incredibly sharp images, it's doing so easily when compared to its predecessor, the Hubble Space Telescope, which was launched in 1990. As Rigby quipped, the Hubble extremely deep field took 2 weeks of exposure. Webb went deeper before breakfast. Once Webb carries out longer observations that allow it to collect more light from faint stars or galaxies, astronomers will be able to see some of the first stars and galaxies that formed right after the Big Bang. Understanding planets around other stars. The second reveal was not of an image, but a spectrum, a breakdown of the strength of light at different wavelengths. WASP-96b. Webb pointed its mirror to the exoplanet WASP-96b. It's WASP. A giant hot gas planet orbiting a star about 1,000 light years from Earth. As the planet passed in front of its parent star, during this transit, a portion of the star's light was filtered through the planet's atmosphere and left a chemical fingerprint in the light's unique spectrum. The specifics of this fingerprint strongly suggest there are water vapor clouds and haze in the atmosphere of WASP-96b. As Webb moves on to smaller planets that could potentially harbor life, astronomers expect to detect the fingerprints of oxygen, nitrogen, ammonia, and carbon in the form of methane and other hydrocarbons. The goal is to find biosignatures of life, that is, chemistry that would point toward the atmosphere being modified by living organisms. The technical challenge of doing this type of observation, called transit spectroscopy, is enormous, and this initial result barely scratches the surface of the scientific content of the spectrum. Galactic dances and lives of stars. The last three images show the incredible resolution of Webb's optics as the telescope explored the birth and death of stars. Webb's ability to capture light in the mid-infrared range allows his camera to cut through dense clouds of dust and gas. This ability helped Webb to capture spectacular details of the Carina Nebula where stars are born. So there's a picture here. These James Webb Space Telescope images show two views of the Southern Ring Nebula. Webb is also excellently suited to study the end of a star's life. As stars get old, they can puff off their outer layers and form nebulas like the stunning Southern Ring Nebula, which was imaged by Webb. The image revealed never-before-seen details of successive waves of matter expelled by the dying central star. While Hubble was unable to see through the expanding cloud of dust and debris, Webb provided the first look at the binary star system that formed the nebula. The last photo from Webb's coming out party showed Stephan's Quintet, a group of 5 galaxies 300 million light years from Earth, interacting in a cosmic dance. Thanks to the suite of complementary instruments aboard Webb, the telescope can simultaneously pick up details of individual stars in these galaxies. See the coal dust and gas fueling star formation within these galaxies, and most remarkably block out the stars, gas, and dust to see the material swirling around the supermassive black hole at the center of one of the galaxies. So this mosaic is a composite of near and mid-infrared data showing a group of 5 galaxies known as Stephan's Quintet, is Webb's largest image to date, covering an area of the sky 1/5 of the moon's diameter, as seen from Earth. Webb also captured data on the spectra of hundreds of individual star-forming regions in the quintet, which will take months to analyze and study. Webb is the result of 25 years of work by thousands of scientists, engineers, and administrators belonging to an international collaboration of space agencies, companies, research centers, and universities worldwide. John Mather, a project leader for Webb, emotionally described the journey. This was hard to do. It is difficult to express just how hard it was. There's so many thousands of ways it could have gone wrong. But it didn't go wrong. It all came together, and now humanity's greatest space telescope is open for business. Okay, do we have any more check-ins?
KG5 APL, or Kilo Golf 5 Alpha Papa Lima, Patrick in Dallas.
5 Alpha Papa Lima. Patrick, welcome to the net. Okay, it's time for Chaz, KF5JHA, with his segment of What's Up. Go ahead, Chaz.
Good evening once again. This is Chaz, KF5JHA. My degree is in astrophysics, and I work at the astrophysics labs and the geology lab at Dallas College on the Brookhaven campus, and we do call this segment of Skynet What's Up. That was slide number 1. Slide Master, if you're looking at the video version, I haven't pulled up my video version tonight. Oh well. Video version, slide number 2, please. On July the 13th, the moon was full. That was just a few nights ago. So the current phase of the moon is a waning gibbous. Earlier today, on July the 16th, yes, it was Moon Day. You've already heard that at Frontiers of Flight Museum. So let's see now. On July the 20th, the moon will be at third quarter phase. On July the 26th, the moon will be at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth at a distance of 406,274 kilometers. The moon will be at its new phase on July the 28th. On August the 5th, the moon will be at its first quarter phase. On August the 10th, the moon will be at perigee, which is a point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 359,828 kilometers. And on August the 11th, the moon will be full. Slide Master, slide number 3, please. So once again, today was the 14th annual Moon Day at the Frontiers of Flight Museum. I've been trying to find out what the final attendance was, don't know, but of course Fred Hayes was the featured speaker. He was the guy who got sick as the astronaut on Apollo 13, the infamous Apollo 13. He had a book signing afterwards. Lots of people got books that he signed. From my understanding, the bookstore had ordered about 300 copies of it. About 50 were left, so about 250 copies were sold, plus some people brought their own books to be signed. So it was a successful day for the Frontiers of Flight Museum and for lots of people getting to see and talk to Fred Hayes. So let me see. What was else going on? Well, Dr. Billy Cheek, our own net control here at Skynet, KF5PDS, she was one of the speakers. She talked about features on the moon. Skynet's, let's see now. Oh, wait, who else? Kelly. Kelly was doing a solar system ambassador from NASA. Of course, I saw lots of other people there as well. And of course, yours truly, I talked about moon rocks. I don't know why. There is a permanent display of an Apollo 15 segment of a moon rock right there, right beside the Apollo 7 capsule. So if you've never seen that, you need to go to the Frontiers of Flight Museum to actually see a moon rock. It's right here in North Texas. That's pretty cool. All right, Slide Master, we're up to slide number 5, please. On July the 19th, the moon and Jupiter will be in conjunction in the early morning southern sky. In slide number 6, on July the 21st, the moon and Mars will be in conjunction in the early morning southeastern sky. So that's just a couple of days later after the Jupiter encounter. And on July the 29th, this is slide number 7, the moon and Mercury will be in conjunction in the evening northwestern sky. I've been talking about all sorts of things happening in the morning sky, but now Mercury is swinging around and is now in the morning sky. I mean, the evening sky right now. Slide Master, slide number 8, please. So on the night of July the 29th and 30th, there's not going to be one meteor shower and not 2 meteor showers, but actually 3 meteor showers that will be at their maximums, at their peak. The 3 meteor showers are going to be the Alpha Capricornids, the Southern Delta Aquarids, and the July Gamma Draconids. Now, how do you tell what meteor comes from which meteor shower? Well, you can watch the direction that the meteor had originated from, and then you can trace it backwards and say, oh, it came from that location. The thin, waxing crescent moon will not interfere with observing of the meteor showers. The best time to watch meteors will be after midnight and before dawn. One of the best places that I suggest to observe meteors is one of the 89 Texas state parks and wildlife areas. Most of them are far away from the city lights. You can find more information about the parks and wildlife areas online. Slide Master, slide number 9. On August the 1st, the planets Mars and Uranus will be about 1 degree apart in the early morning sky. Now, if you've never seen the planet Uranus, this will be a good opportunity to do that. Get a pair of binoculars out and focus in on Mars. Then just off to the left of Mars, you should be able to spot the planet Uranus. I'm sure you can go online and find some maps if you want to get more detailed information about that. Slide Master, slide number 10, please. Once again, for the longest time, I've been talking about planets in the morning skies, but on August the 3rd, the planet Mercury will be about 1 degree from the star Regulus in the northwestern evening sky. So we're going to start getting some things in the evening sky over the next several months. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 11. Now, once again, the next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, July the 22nd at 7:30 p.m. The meeting will be in person, the University of Dallas, and also held on Zoom. The future speaker is Noah Pearson. He's going to talk about black holes. Pretty cool. And the Saturday night observing sessions have begun, but tonight's was canceled because it's too hot. Okay, so go to the website, texasastro.org, for up-to-date information and details about task club meetings and public observing sessions. Looks like 3 out of the 4 have resumed, so maybe, I don't know, maybe next week we'll have live reports from one. I don't know. Slide number 12. Do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need a fill on any information? Or maybe you just have a general astronomy question. Come now with your call sign if you have a question or need a fill.
Kilo 5, Juliet, Delta Whiskey.
John, I don't know if you're up in Oklahoma, but your signal's a little bit weak, but I heard you. Go ahead.
Thanks, Chaz. We have the Frontiers of Flight. You said there was an astronaut out there, and I missed it. I was in a low spot. K5JW.
Thank you, John. It's always great to hear you. Okay, so, Slide Master, let's go to slide number 13. So the moon wanes at the end of July, so these words of this segment of Skynet wanes. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live. So until next time, actually I'll be doing another segment on Skynet in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. Oh, and if you were asking about the astronaut at the Frontiers of Flight Museum, it was Fred Hayes, yes, okay. And this is Chaz, KF5JHA. Back to our net control, Brenda. It's all yours.
Thank you, Chaz. Our next segment is on space exploration and space history. I'll call on Kelly, K5KTX, to make the presentation. Go ahead, Kelly.
Thank you, Brenda. This is K5KTX, and this evening I'm just going to do space history and astronaut birthday. So starting with July the 11th, back in 1979, America's first space station, Skylab, returned to Earth. Skylab launched on May 14th, 1973 from NASA's Kennedy Space Center, and it marked a new phase for America's human spaceflight program. The goal now became to stay in space for longer periods of time and conduct complex scientific experiments in the unique space environment. Dr. Werner von Braun and his team at NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama, converted the third stage of a Saturn V rocket into a habitable orbital laboratory. It was put into space on the last Saturn V to launch. Efforts in the early summer of 1979 to safely deorbit Skylab were mostly successful. The planned re-entry over the Indian Ocean happened as expected, but some of the remnants of Skylab went further east than expected and came down over parts of Australia. July the 12th, back in 2000, the Zvezda service module launched on a Russian Proton rocket, the first completely Russian contribution to the International Space Station. Zvezda served as the cornerstone for the first ISS inhabitants and provided living quarters as well as life support, communications, flight control, and propulsion systems. The ISS has since been completed, but Zvezda still functions as the heart of the Russian segment of the space station. July the 13th, back in 1995, the Space Shuttle mission STS-70 took flight, setting a unique record. Space Shuttle Discovery was launched a mere 6 days after the landing of sister ship Atlantis. This marked the fastest turnaround between flights in the history of NASA. The original liftoff date had been targeted for June 22nd, but for several reasons, including an attack by northern flicker woodpeckers, which poked about 200 holes in the foam insulation of Discovery's external tank, the launch was delayed. On July the 14th, back in 1965, Mariner 4 reached Mars and took 21 pictures, making it the first spacecraft to photograph another planet from close range. Flying as close as 6,118 miles from the surface, the probe observed that Mars had low atmospheric pressure compared to Earth, no magnetic field, and a surface with many impact craters. After completing its historic flyby, Mariner 4 continued on into solar orbit, where it observed the solar wind environment and returned data to Earth for 3 more years. July the 15th, 1975, at 8:20 a.m. Eastern Time, a Soviet Soyuz spacecraft launched from Baikonur Cosmodrome. 7,000 miles away, and 7.5 hours later, an Apollo spacecraft took off from the Kennedy Space Center. The two spacecraft met more than 100 miles above the Earth on history's highest stage 2 days later in the culmination of the Apollo Soyuz test project. Also on July the 15th, I can't believe it's only been 7 years ago. It seems like it was yesterday. July 15th, 2015, 3 billion miles from Earth and moving at a speed that would get you from New York to Los Angeles in about 4 minutes, NASA's New Horizons spacecraft pointed cameras and sensors at Pluto and its moons. The spectacular photos to come out of New Horizons over the following days and months captured the imaginations of people around the world. On this date, July the 16th, back in 1969, who could forget, with the help of 7.5 million pounds of thrust, a Saturn V rocket launched from Kennedy Space Center. Inside the Apollo 11 command module Columbia sat astronauts Neil Armstrong, Michael Collins, and Buzz Aldrin. Just 2 hours and 44 minutes after launch, the engines reignited and pushed Apollo 11 out of Earth orbit toward the moon. Happy birthday to several astronauts for this past week. July the 11th, 1950, Lawrence DeLucas, who was on Space Shuttle mission STS-50. July the 12th, 1957, Rick Husband, who was part of Space Shuttle missions STS-96, and he was part of the Columbia mission, the doomed Columbia mission STS-107. July 13th, 1950, George Nelson, who was part of Space Shuttle missions STS-41C, 61, and 26. July 14th, 1936, Robert Overmyer, who was on Space Shuttle missions STS-5 and 51B, And finally, yesterday was happy birthday to Jessica Meir, who was born in 1977, and her first flight was on Expedition 61 and 62. And that's all I've got this evening. Back to you, Brenda. This is K5 KTX.
Thank you, Kelly. Do we have any more check-ins? Who's coming out?
KG5OCB.
Hello, Scratchy there. Could you please come back with your call slowly and phonetically and tell us your name?
Kilo Golf 5, Oscar, Charlie, Bravo, David.
Hey, KG5OCB, David, welcome to the net. All right, next we're going to go back to Chaz, KF5JHA, who's going to present Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. Go ahead.
Thank you once again. Slide number 14, please. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent Key Carolyn, KC50ZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week, almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Thus, there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in the North Texas skies throughout the year, out of the 88 total constellations. So Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky as seen over North Texas in a year. In her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named that segment after her. So Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week this week is Opiuchus, the snake handler. Now, if you remember right, we talked about the snake last week, serpents. So Opiuchus, the snake handler, is holding the two ends of the snake that you see as separate pieces of the same constellation, serpents. Opiuchus is the snake bearer. It's more familiar terms in Texas. We'd call it a snake wrangler, I'm sure. There's no classical mythological hero with the name Opiuchus, but the constellation is believed to represent the ancient Greek physician, the universal symbol of medicine, and of course that symbol with that snake on it, that belongs to him. The universal symbol of medicine, of course, is the familiar symbol of the staff with two intertwined serpents. The serpents are represented by the constellation serpents, and the snake is held by Opiuchus. Opiuchus is sometimes called the 13th constellation of the zodiac because it lies along the ecliptic. Yes, the path of the sun, the moon, and the planets go through that constellation. So there's actually 13 constellations in the zodiac, not 12. In fact, a portion of the ecliptic that lies in Opiuchus is longer than that part that lies in the neighboring Scorpius. Interesting. Slide Master, slide number 15, please. The thing that everyone's been waiting for, the jokes of the week. So, what's the best unit of measurement for a snake? Well, it would be inches because they don't have any feet. You thought you had all the snake jokes last week because I was doing snake jokes with the serpents, but no, I've got a lot more. What do you call a magic snake? Abracadabra. Okay, that was a stretch, wasn't it? What do you call a snake who works for the government? I need JJ over here on Echo Link, and he's missing tonight. He's missing in action. What do you call a snake who works for the government? A civil serpent. Yeah, okay. What do you give a sick snake? Aspirin. Who is a snake's favorite author? William Snakespeare. That's hard to pronounce wrong. Yeah, okay. What is a snake's favorite TV show? Oh, come on. Someone on Echolink, you've got to answer this. What's a snake's favorite TV show? Okay, unkey the mic so somebody online can do it. Yes, you're... Tom got it on Echolink. He said MP. It's Monty Python. That's correct. Okay. And I have one bonus one tonight. Why was the snake handler mad at the jewelry thief? Because he wanted his diamond back. Okay, Slide Master, could you slide over to slide number 16, please? Barnard star is a red dwarf star that is about 6 light years away, making it the second closest star to our solar system. Actually, it's really the fourth because there's actually 3 stars in the Alpha Centaur. Well, anyway, yeah, okay, not Alpha Centaur, but Proxima Centaur system. There's 3 of them. Anyway, so Barnard star is actually the fourth closest one at 6 light years away. Only Alpha Centaur trinary system is closer. It is famous, Barnard star is famous for having the largest known proper motion of all the stars in the sky as seen from the Earth. It is a faint 9th magnitude star which requires a finder chart and a telescope to locate. You can see it by using an 8-inch telescope and a finder chart that's located in Burnham's Celestial Handbook, or you can probably find one online. Burnham's was discovered by Edward Emerson Barnard in 1916, quite some time ago. Slide number 17, please. M9 is a globular cluster that's easily seen in binoculars and telescopes. Using an 8-inch telescope, you can start to resolve the individual stars in the cluster. The cluster looks dim compared to other globular clusters in Opiuchus. Slide Master, slide number 18, please. M10, that would be the 10th object in Messier's list of 110 objects. M10 is the brighter and much easier globular cluster to be seen rather than M9 that I just talked about. At 41 power, you can start to resolve individual stars, and at 85 power shows more stars, and at 126 power shows even more stars. It's a really nice star cluster to look at. A globular star cluster. Now, I've got a few more words underneath M10 that wasn't in the script, but I'm reviewing it from a week ago. Last night, on July the 15th, a comet in the evening sky, C2 2017 K2 Pan-STARRS, was visible in telescopes with its closest approach to the Earth and very close approach to M10, the globular star cluster I just talked about. And even tonight and the next several nights, it's going to be very close to M10. So you can use M10 to find this comet. The comet is at its brightest right now than any other comet we've had for a long time, but you need a telescope to observe it. It's at 8.7th magnitude. We haven't had really any bright comets in a long while, but this one would be interesting, especially for astrophotographers. Huey Stevens, my friend KF5PLL, he's not on here tonight, at least I haven't heard him. He might be lurking around. But he let me know about this comet about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And he said he got to see a picture of the comet that someone had taken and showed it to him today at Frontiers of Flight Museum. So that's kind of interesting. Slide Master, slide number 19, please. M12 is a very similar globular star cluster to M10. It is a star. It starts to resolve at low power, and a view improved at higher powers. It's less dense than the other globular clusters listed that I've talked about. Therefore, the core resolves better. Pretty interesting. So one more star cluster we're going to talk about. Slide number 20 is M14. It's similar to M9 in brightness and was the most recently unresolvable with an 8-inch telescope, but at 126 power, a few individual stars pop out and in and out of view. With an overall look, the cluster appears mostly as somewhat mottled fuzzball with brighter core. Still, it's easily noticed in a 50 millimeter finder and with binoculars as well. Slide master, slide number 21. Rho Opiuchus is a nebula complex. Rho Opiuchus itself is a trinary star system, and the two brightest components are fairly easily split. The two brightest stars in the system are noticeable at 84 power and can be easily, cleanly split at 125 power. The nebula complex is best seen with fast focal ratio telescopes, such as Dobsonians. At 41 power, only a slight brightening of the background sky is visible with an 8-inch telescope around Rho, and some of the other nearby stars are resolved in the surrounding nebula complex. I need to look at this with my 16-inch telescope, I really do. The emission nebula around the nearby star Antares, which is in Scorpius, is noticeable, and the nearby globular cluster M4, which is also in Scorpius, adds some spice to this interesting region. This is a great target for astrophotographers and also known by Jason Ware's image of the region. That's what I'm showing you if you're on the video version. Jason Ware's picture is up there now. And this is KF5 JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 22. Now, there are more Astronomical League observing program objects in this constellation of Opiuchus, a snake handler. I've just given you a few samplings of some of those objects. The Astronomical League has over 70 different observing programs. Last time I counted was 73. And most of the observing programs have about 100 objects. Now, if you observe just 10 different objects from an observing program each month, then you can actually earn an observing certificate and a pin in about a year from the Astronomical League. And slide master, slide number 23. That is Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week, Opiuchus, the snake handler. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for the research and words on deep sky objects that I use, borrow, and steal for every Skynet. Also, at times, I use a website, constellation-guide.com, for information. Now, next time, I'll take a look at another constellation, kind of interesting one, Draco the Dragon. And this is KF5, sending it back to our net control. Oh, KF5 JHA. Sending it back to our net control, Brenda. 73, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you, Chaz. All right, next, space launches for this week. Tom, KE5, ICX. Please go ahead.
All right, thank you, Brenda. This is KE5ICX. So what do we got? We got a bunch of stuff this week. I get all this information from spaceflightnow.com /launch schedule. You can do the same thing. They'll tell you about any missions that have been moved up, back, canceled, or recently added. So we have overnight, July 14th, 15th, Falcon 9 SpaceX CRS-25 launch from Launch Complex 39A at Cape Kennedy Space Center. Falcon 9 rocket will launch a Dragon 2 spacecraft on its 5th cargo resupply mission to the International Space Station. Falcon 9's first stage booster will land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. The flight is the 25th mission by SpaceX conducted under the Commercial Resupply Services contract with NASA. On July 17th, another Falcon 9 mission. This one is for the Starlink 4-22. This will be SLC-40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida, right across from the Launch Complex 39. The SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket will launch with another batch of Starlink Internet satellites. I don't even tell you how many anymore. The Falcon 9's first stage booster will land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. On July 21st, there'll be another Falcon 9, this one at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California, SLC-4E. SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket will launch yet another batch of Starlink Internet satellites. This Falcon 9's first stage booster will land on a drone ship in the Pacific Ocean. On July 22nd will be the NROL 199 mission. This is from Launch Complex 1B at Mahia Peninsula in New Zealand. The Rocket Lab Electron rocket will launch on a classified payload for the National Reconnaissance Office. Let's see. Next, July 24th, this will be a launch of a Long March 5B in Wentang, China. The Chinese Long March 5B rocket will launch the Wentian Laboratory Module, the second major element of the Chinese space station, now in Earth orbit. Oh boy, another Falcon 9, Starlink 4-25 from Launch Complex 39A. This is on July 24th, Cape Canaveral Space Force Base. Well, actually, that's incorrect. That would be Cape Kennedy. SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket will launch another batch of Starlink Internet satellites. Falcon 9's first stage booster will land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. We've got a couple of to be determined coming up. Astra Rocket 3.3. This is from SLC 46 at Cape Canaveral. The commercial small satellite launch vehicle developed by Astra will launch the second pair of small CubeSats for NASA's Tropics mission. This is a wordy one. Time-resolved observations of precipitation structure and storm intensity with a constellation of small sats, or tropics. Mission will measure environmental and inner core conditions for tropical cyclones. In August, there'll be a nice launch of an Atlas V, SLC-41 Space Force Base in Cape Canaveral. The United Launch Alliance Atlas V, designated AV-097, will launch a U.S. Space Force 6 space-based infrared system geosynchronous satellite, or ESPERS GEO-6, for early missile warning detection. The rocket will fly on the 421 vehicle configuration, which is a 4-meter fairing, 2 solid rocket boosters, and a single-engine Centaur upper stage. And then finally, to be determined, another Tropics 5 and 6 missions on an Astra 3.3 rocket, SLC-46, Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. The commercial small satellite launch vehicle developed by Astra will launch the third pair of small CubeSats for NASA's Tropics mission. And we've already mentioned what it is. I'm not going to read it again, but it will measure environmental and inner core conditions for a tropical cyclone. And that's it, Brenda. That's what I have for this week. Back to you. This is KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. Do we have any more check-ins? All right, next, recent astronomical discoveries. This article's from ScienceDaily.com. It's entitled Undead Planets, the Unusual Conditions of the First Exoplanet Detection. The first ever exoplanets were discovered 30 years ago around a rapidly rotating star called a pulsar. Now, astronomers have revealed that these planets may be incredibly rare. The new work will be presented tomorrow, well, that's July 12th, at the National Astronomy meeting by Luliana Nitu, a PhD student at the University of Manchester. The processes that cause planets to form and survive around pulsars are currently unknown. A survey of 800 pulsars, followed by the Jodrell Bank Observatory over the last 50 years, has revealed that this first detected exoplanet system may be extraordinarily uncommon. Less than 0.5% of all known pulsars could host Earth-mass planets. Pulsars are a type of neutron star, the densest stars in the universe, born during powerful explosions at the end of a typical star's life. They are exceptionally stable, rapidly rotating, and have incredibly strong magnetic fields. Pulsars emit beams of bright radio emission from their magnetic poles that appear to pulse as the star rotates. Pulsars produce signals which sweep the Earth from every time they rotate, similarly to a cosmic lighthouse, says Nitu. These signals can then be picked up by radio telescopes and turned into a lot of amazing science. In 1992, the first ever exoplanets were discovered orbiting a pulsar called PSR B1257 plus 12. The planetary system is now known to host at least 3 planets similar in mass to the rocky planets in our solar system. Since then, a handful of pulsars have been found to host planets. However, extremely violent conditions surrounding the births and deaths of pulsars make normal planet formation unlikely, and many of these detected planets are exotic objects, such as planets made mostly of diamond, unlike those we know in our solar system. A team of astronomers at the University of Manchester performed the largest search for planets orbiting pulsars to date. In particular, the team looked for signals that indicate the presence of planetary companions with masses up to 100 times that of the Earth in orbital time periods between 20 days and 17 years. Of the 10 potential detections, the most promising is the system PSR J2007 plus 3120 with the possibility of hosting at least 2 planets with masses a few times bigger than the Earth in orbital periods of 1.9 and about 3.6 years. The results of the work indicate no bias for particular planet masses or orbital periods in pulsar systems. However, the results do yield information of the type of these planets' orbits. In contrast to the near circular orbits found in our solar system, these planets would orbit their stars on highly elliptical paths. This indicates that the formation process for pulsar planet systems is vastly different than traditional star-planet systems. Discussing the motivation of her research, Nitu says pulsars are incredibly interesting and exotic objects. Exactly 30 years ago, the first extrasolar planets were discovered around a pulsar, but we are yet to understand how these planets can form and survive in such extreme conditions. Finding out how common these are and what they look like is a crucial step toward this. Okay, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. Tom, KE5 ICX. Could you report on this, please?
Yes, I can, Brenda. Unfortunately, the International Space Station does not have any favorable passes over Dallas, so I can't comment on those, but I will give you the next best things. I got the Hubble Space Telescope. There's a July 22nd. Get to the chart here, otherwise I can't tell you anything. Let's see. July 22nd has a pretty good pass, 1.8 magnitude at 5:31 in the morning out of the southwest, reaches its highest point at 5:34 at 31 degrees. Sorry, but it is a good pass. Out of the south-southeast, it'll fall at 5:37 to the east-southeast. Then we have July 23rd, 1.6 magnitude, 5:20 in the morning, 24 degrees. It's going to come out of shadow, reach its highest point at 35 degrees at 5:22 and fall at 5:25. And then finally on, well, 2 more, July 24th, 5:09 a.m., 1.4 magnitude, reaches its highest point at 38 degrees at 5:10, and it falls to 5:14 to the east-southeast. And then finally, July 25th, 1.2 magnitude, you guessed it, in the morning, this time at 4:57, out of the south-southwest, reaches its highest point at 40 degrees at 4:58, and it will fall at 5:02. So from those numbers, you just keep looking in the sky every morning in about the same location, and you will see the Hubble Space Telescope passing over. Well, there's always old reliable. I don't have a lot of the visible satellite passages for you today, but Envisat, the dead weather satellite that is a big, huge satellite in orbit and does produce a lot of light, which means you can see it. It's also a polar orbit satellite, which helps a lot north to south all the time, so it's easy to spot. July 17th has a good pass, 3.1 magnitude at 5:54 a.m., reaches its highest point at 5:59 at 87 degrees and then falls to 6:04, so directly overhead. July 20th has a good pass, 3.4 magnitude at 5:42 a.m. Out of the north-northeast, reaches its highest point at 5:47 at 66 degrees, falls to the south at 5:52. And then finally, I got two more. I got July 23rd. This one is 3.9 magnitude, 5:30 in the morning, reaches its highest point at 49 degrees at 5:35, falls at 5:40. And then finally, July 25th, 3.0 magnitude, that's at 5:55, an hour later. Out of the north-northeast, reaches its highest point at 6:01 at 88 degrees, almost overhead. Out of the west-northwest, and then it will fall to the south at 6:06. You can keep up with all of that, find the information by going to heavensabove.com. That's where I get all my information. And all you have to do is plug in your longitude and latitude. That information will appear. The site is supported by advertising, so you get that. But guess what? All of this is free, and all you have to do is either become a user or just plug in your longitude and latitude. I just do that, and I get all the information. That's it, Brenda. Back to you. This is KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, next, does anyone need any fills tonight? Do we have any last-minute check-ins? Please come down.
November 5, India, Mike Sierra.
Would you please come again with your call sign and your name?
November 5, India, Mike Sierra, JJ in Carrollton.
Okay, November 5, IMS, JJ, welcome to the net. Okay, tonight we had 31 hymns participating on the air. Thanks to all who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all other DARC nets. If you'd like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussion about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. Until next Saturday night, this is WB50ZL, Brenda. I'll be closing the net at 10:21 local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. But first, our next net, KE5ICX, tell us when we're going to start our Afterglow movie net.
All right, well, Brenda, we will start on time, so it'll be at 10:30, so you get a 9-minute break, almost twice as long as normal. So go do what you need to do and come back, and we'll start the net at 10:30, KE5ICX.
Excellent. I think I'll go get some more ice water. All right, 73, everybody. Enjoy the evening discovering the universe. WB50ZL clear. Well, I'm not going to clear. I'll be right back.
Brenda, just so you know, I have been listening from downstairs while I've been rewiring part of my kitchen. So, I have been here the whole net, just nowhere near the microphone. So, just give you that information. Plus, I'm normally on chat, so, wasn't able to do that either tonight. So, it was a good net. I appreciate it. This is N5IMS, clear.
normal state.
I'm completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
Well, it's now 10:30, and it's time for everybody to come back to the radio, sit around the radio, pull the microphone up close to you, and be ready, because you have an opportunity to tell us how you felt about the famous movie, The Deadly Mantis from 1957. But before we do, I will now give you the storyline for The Deadly Mantis. Mull it over in your head, and then prepare to check in. The Deadly Mantis, oh, by the way, this is KE5ICX. I better do that once in a while, right? The Deadly Mantis is a 1957 American science fiction monster film produced by William Holland for Universal International. The film was directed by Nathan Jurin from a screenplay by Martin Berkeley, based on a story by the producer, William Anlin. It stars Craig Stevens, William Hopper, Alex Talton, and Pat Conway. Here's the plot. In the South Seas, a volcano explodes, causing the North Pole icebergs to shift. A 200-foot-long praying mantis named Fred is trapped in the ice for millions of years. Stirs. The personnel at Red Eagle 1, a military station in northern Canada that monitors the distant early warning line, that's a real thing, by the way, realize the men at one of their outposts are not responding to calls. Commanding Officer Colonel Joe Parkman flies there to investigate and finds the post destroyed. Its men gone and giant slashes left in the snow outside. Joe sends his pilots out to investigate when the radar blip is sighted, but the target disappears. An Air Force plane is attacked by the Mantis. Joe searches the wreckage and, in addition to the huge slashes, finds a 5-foot-long spur in the snow. He takes it to General Mark Ford at the Continental Air Defense, or CONAD, in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Ford gathers top scientists, including Professor Anton Gunther, to examine the object they cannot identify. And Gunther recommends calling in Dr. Nedrick Jackson, a paleontologist at the Museum of Natural History. After examining the object, Ned recognized it as a torn-off spur from an insect's leg and narrows it down to a gigantic praying mantis. In the Arctic, the mantis attacks an Inuit village with stock footage. Ned is sent to Red Eagle 1 to investigate further. The Museum Magazine's editor, Marge Blaine, who makes great coffee, gets permission to accompany him as his photographer. All the men at the base, including Joe, are smitten by Marge. That night, Marge and Joe join Ned in his office and discuss the mantis. The mantis attacks the building, although a full unit opens fire on the mantis with automatic rifles and a flamethrower. It is unscathed and attacks the building. Although the full unit, I already read that. Let's see, unscathed and moves only away only after aircraft encircle it. Hours later, the base remains on red alert. The Mantis attacks a boat off the Canadian coast, which means that it is flying at a speed of 200 miles an hour. Ford calls the press conference to announce the Mantis' existence and asks for Ground Observer Corps to track its whereabouts. Over the next few days, Ned, Marge, and Joe tracked the bug's progress with the help of military and civilian observers. One night, Joe drives Marge home, stopping briefly for a kiss. Hubba hubba. They are distracted by reports of numerous unexplained wrecks in the area. A woman leaving a bus sees the Mantis, and all emergency personnel are put on alert. The Mantis is sighted in Washington, D.C. That's the District of Columbia, everyone. Joe is one of the pilots who attempt to drive the Mantis towards the sea, but a dense fog throws off his course, and he flies directly into it. As the wounded Mantis drops to the ground and crawls into the Manhattan Tunnel, Joe safely parachutes to the ground. Ford leads a team that seals off the tunnel, filling it with smoke to provide cover for Joe and his special unit, who enter the tunnel armed with rifles and 3 chemical bombs. They shoot the Mantis, but it lumbers on, forcing them backwards. Joe throws a bomb in its face, and it collapses, dead. Ford, Ned, Joe, and Marge enter the tunnel to examine the bug. Marge photographs its face. Joe sees the Mantis' leg move and runs to protect Marge, although Ned explains that the movement was merely an autonomic reflex. Joe takes the opportunity to pull Marge into an embrace. The movie ends, the end. So that was Ford, Ned, Joe, Marge, and Fred, the Mantis. So there you have it, single-syllable names, except for general, oh wait, we've got Joe, Ned, Marge, Mark, Pete, Anton. Well, there's a guy that's got a funny name. Lou, Fred Pizar, Fred, and of course, Mrs. Farley. Now you want to pounce on this and participate, so I will now take check-ins. Remember, this is how this works if you're checking in for the first time. We will talk about the plot first, then we will talk about characterizations, including Fred, the deadly Mantis, and everyone else that was in the film, followed by special effects, or in this case, not so special effects. It's up to you how you want to describe it, and that should take us to midnight. So I will now begin. I will take check-ins. Please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, and did you see the deadly Mantis? You do not have to have seen the film to participate. It's okay. I'll take check-ins now.
Kilo India 5, Juliet, Charlie, Mike, Thomas, and Euless. Yes, I saw it, but I am short.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas. Yes, I saw the collection of stock footage. I mean, movie.
November Victor 5, Fox, Virginia in Fort Worth. Yes, I did see the movie thanks to MST3K's help.
Kilo 0 Foxtrot Echo Romeo, Chris in Southeast Dallas. Yes, I saw it again with, also with MST3K's help, and it was epic.
Kilo India 5, Sierra X-Ray Echo, Brandon, Wiley. Yes, I did see the movie.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda in DeSoto. Yes, I saw this fine film.
November 8, Whiskey Romeo, and 8 WWR, Romy, Grapevine. I did not see the movie. Check me out. I'm just in for the count.
we got virtually a full house here. Let me acknowledge everyone, and then I do need a fill. I got KI5JCM, Thomas, and Euless. Yep, you saw the movie. I'll let you, at the beginning here, say everything you want to say about the film before you check out. I got NT5TM, Tony in Dallas. Yep, you saw it. NV5F, that's Virginia, Fort Worth. She saw the film. By the way, I was glad to see both Tony and Virginia today. K0FER, Chris, Southeast Dallas. Yep, he saw it. KI5SXE, that's Brandon in Wiley. I've got you down as having seen the movie. WB5OZL, Miss Brenda DeSoto. Yep, she saw the film. And AWWR, Romy in Grapevine. He did not see the movie, but he wanted to let us know that he is listening in. Romy, if you're around, we'll ask you, do you want to see this film after you hear some of the comments? And KG5BZWJ near Rutherford. Jay, did you see the film? By the way, it was good seeing you today as well.
I did see the film, KG5BZW.
All right, I've put you in the affirmative column here. I'll take additional check-ins. If you'd like to join us for tonight's Afterglow movie, The Deadly Mantis from 1957, I'll take your check-in, your name, your call sign, your name, and did you see the film?
Foxtrot 5, Delta Charlie Golf. 4 is I did not see the movie. Kilo India 5, Uniform Juliet, Dustin in Dallas. I did not see the movie. I'm just here for the count.
All right, we picked up 2 more. They didn't see the film, but that's okay. KI5DCG, John. I got you down as a no. I'll get KI5UUJ. It's Justin. No, he didn't see the movie, but don't worry. We'll come back to you and ask you if you'd like to see it or any other similar films, which there were several along the way. All right, I'm going to go down the list in order. Why not? Thomas, KI5JCM. Since your short time, we'll let you talk about the film until you can't stand it anymore. So please, go ahead. You may talk about the plot, the characterization, and special effects, whatever you feel you are most passionate about from this fine film. Go ahead, from KE5ICF.
KI5JCM here. This film really elicited no strong emotions for me. It wasn't super great. It wasn't super bad. It was just, I caught it last weekend on Svengoolie. Thought the acting was passable. Special effects were passable for that time. Overall, it was just kind of an film. This was during the giant insect phase that gave us Them, a much superior film, and Terror on 8 Legs, a much worse film. This is somewhere in the middle for everything, for plot, acting, special effects, whole 9 yards. That's my opinion. KI5JCN, back to net.
All right, Thomas, short, succinct, and to the point. I think you're right. Well, we'll come back to you if you're still around, or you may be gone, but I'll call on you later. If you're there, great. If not, you probably will have even more inspirational things to say about this film. Next up is Tony, NT5TM. Tony likes all the films that we watch, so he is the eternal optimist. So, Tony, what good things do you have to say about The Deadly Mantis from KE5ICX?
Well, thank you, Tom. I'll have some more to say about an important theatrical descendant of this character, the Deadly Mantis, in the character round. For me, this movie was largely a collection of great one-liners, like the Great Snowball War of 1947, or Great Snowball War of 1959, Look, a Dead Zebra, and other wonderful remarks from the MST3K crew. You know, there... oh boy, where to go? The plot seemed to be very long and drawn out and tedious and full of unnecessary exposition and stock footage. It was great that they talked about the Pine Tree Line and the Mid-Canada Line and the Distant Early Warning Line. Most people have forgotten about those, although Distant Early Warning was the title of a nice Rush song from the album Grace Under Pressure, which I think was in about 1984 or so. For me, the most exciting part of the movie was its wonderful collection of vintage stock footage of really seriously obsolete aircraft that I've never seen. The gigantic and sort of ugly Douglas C-124 Globemaster II, what possibly may have been Alaskan Air Command F-94 Starfires, a variety of versions of the P-80, and still other planes that I couldn't identify because my knowledge of these old first-generation low-performance jets is pretty poor. So any other vintage aircraft enthusiasts are very welcome to identify these and correct them. Heck, there was even a DC-3. It's always nice to see a DC-3. But yeah, I don't think I would have had nearly as much fun without the help of Tom and Crow and Mike. So I really have to thank them and not the original filmmakers. Plot, slow. One-liners, great. NT5TM.
Very good, Tony, and you identified all the aircraft correctly. There is the C-1, it could be an EC-121, which is a Constellation in disguise. So, anyway, that was one of the ones that was a piston aircraft. That's okay. You did well. All right, I agree with you. I think that helped a lot, including the Peanuts monkeys. That was pretty good, too. It's actually better than the movie. Next up is Virginia, NV5F. Virginia, it was good seeing you today. What did you think about this movie and the plot from KE5ICX?
KE5ICX in the net. It's also good to see you today, Tom and Tony and Chaz and other people I heard on the Skynet earlier. Moon Day is always great fun. I hope to get out that way a little more the rest of this year. Well, I, of course, also have to start with a nod to MST3K. At the time this one was made, I think MST3K had moved to the Sci-Fi Channel, and I was still a pretty avid watcher of the series. I don't know if I specifically remember seeing this one when it first came out. But I have to mention that I love MST3K airplane humor. They make the funniest jokes about big planes and small planes, and they anthropomorphize the planes, and they make them talk, and I just can't get enough of that. I have always thought their airplane humor was best. They even referred to a movie called Starfighters that they did way back when Joel was on the show, and they made several references to their jokes from that movie, including the music from the movie and the infamous poopy suit, which I just laughed my head off. They also got a couple Top Gun jokes in there, so just continuing with the airplane theme. Anyway, to the plot. I will also agree with Tony that this plot was it's the longest setup ever. We didn't see the giant mantis until halfway through the movie when attacking an Inuit village, and I'm wondering if it was from like Nanook of the North or something. Anyway, that was super slow, and there seemed to be a lot of old monster movies like that, including one in the new MST3Ks that they debuted with on Netflix a few years ago. Some of these movies have this really long, crazy explanation of why there's this huge, bug or sea creature or whatever, and I noticed that it took the mantis. Fred took a little long to make his entrance. And of course, it was just sort of a typical plot that was pretty predictable and just kind of there, and the sort of fake surprise reversal at the ending was, a little lackluster, not very exciting. I guess it just gave one more opportunity for Marge to get rescued and scream again, because that was kind of a thing for girls to scream in movies. The newspaper headlines and the airplanes fighting the mantis and the Lincoln Tunnel or whatever that was. The romance, all pretty typical, not very interesting, just a retread of some of the better giant insect movies that were out at the time. So I just have to kind of say the plot itself, not terribly interesting, or didn't have really anything unpredictable or very exciting in it. I did think the scene where what's-his-face, the scientist, started passionately yelling at the other guy was pretty funny, and of course they made a lot of humor out of that, and I really just enjoyed it because of what the MST3K guys did. I laughed a lot and just enjoyed the movie that much that way. So anyway, that's my take on the plot. KE5ICX NV5F.
Very good. Thank you, Virginia. Yeah, and anybody who wants to talk about the MST3K part of this, by all means, it was actually hilarious, and I absolutely agree with you. So, no holds barred. You can talk about that as well. Next up is Chris, K0FER. Chris, you saw the film? What did you think of the plot for The Deadly Mantis from 1957?
Not sure there was much of one. Mantis arrives, Mantis flies, Mantis dies. There were things that just kind of confuddled me, like, why'd they go to a paleontologist instead of an entomologist or any other sort of genius with an expertise in the wildlife of the Arctic? Why did they automatically go to, this must be an ancient thing? The idea that she could call up and fake her way onto a military plane speaks volumes to what they thought of OPSEC back then. The stuff about the MST3K is spot on. Everyone's kind of said what I thought about it. It made the movie. I think we should do more of those. Anyway, that's about it. Back to net. K0FER.
All right, thank you, Chris. And you know what? You make a good point, because, a lot of these films are not available, either as free or even to the public, except through MST3K, and they are hilarious, and we should do more of them. I will do some more research. They're a little trickier to find, but many of them are on YouTube. Many of the MST3K films are on YouTube, so maybe we can get a whole new cache of films from there. A new old cache of films. All right, next is Brandon, KI5SXE. Brandon, go ahead. What did you think about the plot for The Deadly Mantis?
I thought it was pretty basic. Stand by. Sorry, I had a little frequency snafu. Yeah, I thought it was pretty basic. Nothing to write home about. I actually thought the Mystery Science Theater commentary was more of a plot. and that was funny. Their commentary, that is.
Oh, Brandon, were you done, or did we lose you?
Oh no, I'm sorry. Back to net. My apologies.
Okay, cool deal. Usually just complete with their call sign. That way you do two things at once. We know you're done, and you identify. Very FCC-ish. All right, next is Brenda, WB5OZL. Miss Brenda, I know you love this movie. It's one of your favorites, with Fred the Deadly Mantis. Please tell us what you thought of the film, especially the plot, from KE5ICX.
This is WB5OZL. Okay, I didn't catch that his name was Fred, and I don't think they ever named him, but, plot, pretty formulaic. You know, a giant monster invades and is wreaking havoc, and, they have to kill the monster. So, I can't imagine how many movies had this theme, but there have been lots and lots and lots. He lost a piece of one of his claws, and he didn't seem to miss it or notice. I found that a little bit unbelievable. And, you know, you have the usual congregation of military people and politicians and such, all trying to make a good decision about what to do with this thing. As usual, the bullets, the flamethrowers, nothing worked. You know, if this ever really happened, we'd be in big trouble. They just may as well throw their guns down because they're not going to work for anything. And it's such a common element in these kinds of movies. I guess that's how they manage to stretch them out to an hour and a half, is nothing kills the guy in the first hour and a half. So, it's so typical with the romance and the interaction with all the main characters. We have seen this a million times before, and I think there's a master script out there. They just plug in the different names and actions and monsters for all these movies. And boy, 1957 was the golden age of crummy movies, for sure. And didn't have to endure it in black and white on top of that. Back to net, WB50ZL.
Wow, the 1957, the golden age of crummy movies. Interesting. 1939, the golden age of good films. 1957, the golden age of crummy films. We're going to have to keep that in mind. All right, I'm going to skip over Romy for now, but I'll come back and ask him what he thought of this whole thing going forward. Next is Jay, KG5BZW, Jay near Weatherford. He saw the film. Jay, what did you think of the plot from KE5ICX? Now, I will tell you one thing. Jay was at Moon Day today. He may have fallen asleep. KG5BZW, Jay, are you there? It's your turn. that's okay. We do know that people have fallen asleep during this net. I actually fell asleep while I was net control once. And somehow then everybody managed to soldier on without me. It's true. It really happened. All right, let's see here. Let me go ahead and ask for additional check-ins, and then I'll go ahead and ask the folks that did not see the film whether they want to see it or not. Are there any additional check-ins at this point? Anybody who'd like to join us, please come with your call sign, your name, and did you see the deadly mantis from 1957?
N5SQA. I did not see the deadly mantis. It was good seeing Tom today at the Frontiers of Flight Museum, and I also fell asleep during this net. N5SQA.
Kilo Bravo 9, 0 Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth. Yes, I've seen the movie.
All right, very good. The usual suspects have appeared. N5SQA, Ron, he did not see the movie, but he is star of stage and screen. He's a celebrity, folks, so bow to his thespian skills. Next is Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, over in Fort Worth. You saw the film. What did you think of the plot? We're in round one. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Well, I agree with what everybody has said. It obviously was a really, really basic plot. It was, we spent an enormous amount of time looking at maps, and then we moved on to, a lot of stock footage, and then, it was just lots of stock footage, and then we had a little bit of a story. Overall, it was very slow. It's not the worst monster movie I think we've seen, but it definitely was nowhere near close to a good one. Had it not been for, obviously, the Mystery Science Theater folks, this would have been painful to watch, probably. But because of them, I enjoyed it, actually got some chuckles out of it, and didn't mind watching it. And in fact, I think their plot was much better than the actual movies. Sometimes some of their episodes are necessarily not the best either, but this one was a good one. So, yeah, nods to them and not to the movie. Back to net, KB9SOK.
Yeah, thank you, Sean. Actually, it gives a little shot of adrenaline because we get something that actually kind of bridges the gap for what is usually a questionable movie. This one is no different. I mean, when you have films that have done the insects, we got tarantula, we got them, we've got even the Blob has tendencies in all of this, and they were all better films for obvious reasons. And I don't know. Well, of course, now I'm making comments about the film, but yeah, I absolutely agree. Maybe we can find more of these MST3K films that we can watch and make the films bearable, because some of them are not. By the way, the Deadly Mantis was actually on Svengoolie last week, and I thought, that's a good film, and I hadn't thought of it as a possible film, so I looked it up, and sure enough, there was a copy available for us to watch for free. So that's where that came from. All right, let me see here. I'm going to go down the list here now, folks that have been listening. If you got some comments, I'm going to start with Romy, N8WWR. Romy, you want to see this film, don't you? Tell me yes. Maybe that might happen. That's why I saved them for last, is that, eventually people drop out. I don't want to talk about this movie. So let's try John, KF5DCG. John, would you watch this film Does it sound like something you would want to, spend an evening of the rest, to an hour and a half of your life to watch? Tell us from KE5ICX. Oh, another one who's dropped out. That's okay. I'm just checking on you to see. I'm giving everyone a chance to speak. Next up, KI5UUJ. Justin, your comments. Would you watch this film after our critique?
Well, I always love a good monster movie, but it's not getting stellar reviews here, and the plot seems a little cliche, so I think I'd have to pass on seeing The Deadly Mantis. This is KI5UJ, back to net.
All right, well, I wondered. Plus, you're a regular contributor, so you usually have some interesting comments. But, yeah, I agree with you. I'll make my comments and respond to Justin. Yeah, and everyone else. The thing about the film is that it is dry. It doesn't have a lot of plot. It's very slow-moving, as everyone mentioned. And why we have all this dialogue, it was like watching a very poorly made National Geographic, which I think they played the music where they were humming along, pretending that it was a National Geographic special, which is what it felt like, although most National Geographic specials are way better. So, yeah, it was just kind of crazy. And then there's always the thing about the expansion making things bigger, that they would, collapse under their own weight, which is always a consideration if you're into that. But it's a movie that you're supposed to suspend belief. Suspend belief that anybody would make this film, number one, and then number two, all the things that don't happen in this film. Yeah, it's pretty bad. The acting is forced. Well, we'll talk about acting here in a minute, but overall it was pretty, and it took forever. For an hour and a half movie, it could have been done in about 20 minutes. I mean, that's all that was there. It would have made a bad Twilight zone. I don't know if Rod Serling would even do anything like that. It was pretty bad. And the mandible or the paw or whatever the hell that thing was. Now, if you look at the model, you'll see that it is missing the tip of its little mandible thing, whatever it is. So that was, at least on one of the models, I don't know. There were three of them. There was a 1 foot, there was a 6 foot, and then there was what, a 20? I think it was the 100. What was it? The third, the big thing, the paper mache thing was, I forget how big that thing was. 6 feet long. Another was 1 foot, and then there was another that was measured 200 feet long. The paper mache model, which is like incredible. That's the biggest actor ever, 200 feet long and 40 feet high. So that's why that looked so clumsy. But it was a very big model. Although I have to admit, there's enough hardware, there's enough aircraft, to make it interesting. And we got what's his face from, Perry Mason. He was rather boring through the whole thing. William Hopper. I was trying to think, who is this guy? And I should have remembered because it's Perry Mason, but he makes a fairly good Ned. There's not everybody in the world can be Ned, but William Hopper was definitely a good Ned. I'm back into characterization. All right, let's go ahead and go back up to the top. We will discuss now characterization. Thomas, I know you're short time, KI5JCM. If you're still there, you can talk about characterization if you'd like from KE5ICS.
KI5JCM, I will answer that as a lullaby. Characterization, the characters were interchangeable. I did like some of them. The general was kind of fun, but none of them left out of me. The magazine editor who still had her nose for news made me chuckle because I've been a newspaper reporter and a magazine editor. So, other than that, they were what they were. They're not that differentiated, save titles. Could have been better acted, but it's a B movie from the 1950s. You're not in for much to be entertained, and I was entertained. So, all I gotta say, KI5JCM back to net.
Oh, Thomas, I have to ask you a question. Since you were a former member of the press, did you have a fedora hat that had a thing in it that said press in the hat band? And then did you speak like Walter Winchell with a fast staccato while carrying a small notebook to write everything down?
Actually, yes, but only because I like fedoras and I'm somewhat of a traditionalist. And it wasn't a press tag, it was my business card, but still, yeah, basically, I did. KI5JCM.
Excellent. You ever imagined the thought of what a newspaper man should look like? You have affirmed my suspicions. Thank you. Next up is Tony, NT5TM. Tony's going to dig in on characterization because I know he found the depth of these characters quite deep from KE5ICX.
Why, thank you, Tom. Harking back to Virginia's comment, yes, I really liked all their airplane humor. At one point, a large airplane is passed by several small planes, and she complains, I didn't want to have all those little planes, but their father was a DC-10 who couldn't keep his wings to himself. They had a lot of good little airplane jokes. The characters were, largely forgettable, men with ties. A couple of notable standouts, I can't remember what her character name was. The female photographer for the museum magazine, she had the sex appeal of a block of wood. I don't understand why the other characters reacted to her with any sort of interest. She was just not interesting. The various men at the radar outpost in the far north, who became all gibbering and sort of hysterical and incoherent when she appeared, they were amusing, largely because they were so overacted. But still, they were probably the only amusing thing in the original movie, so I give them points for trying. It's worth noting that those radar outposts in the far north were largely automated. This is a very pioneering use of long troposphere scatter microwave data links, because no one wanted to be stuck up there in the middle of nowhere with all alone in the cold in the night. So there was a lot of pioneering automation in those radar outposts, not hordes of strange men who turn to butter if a photographer appears. The most important character in this movie was, of course, the deadly mantis. It really tried hard to be more than just a rude or inconsiderate mantis, but to be actually deadly. It was kind of a little bit inept in that department. Real mantises strike suddenly by grabbing things with those big serrated arms, and they're not lumbering and annoying. They're pretty fearsome. Aaron has seen mantises in the garden rip the heads off other insects and nibble them, and insect guts go everywhere, and the mantises are quite fierce. Unlike this one. Of course, this one did inspire an important theatrical descendant. If you ever saw Space Ghost Coast to Coast or The Brack Show, you know Zorak, the lone locust of the apocalypse, an evil praying mantis villain who was also a lot funnier than this mantis. So perhaps Zorak says that we should give this movie more respect because it did help him learn how to be a good villain and a good scary movie mantis. So that's what I had about the characters, NT5TM.
Tony, and now I'll never think of Fred, the deadly mantis, exactly the same way. He'll have one of those maniacal, evil voices. That speaks like this. Okay. Next up is Virginia, NV5F. Here's your opportunity to tell us what you thought about the characterization. Please go ahead from KE5ICX.
KE5ICX and the Afterglow Movie Net. This is Virginia NV5F. Well, probably generally agreeing with the previous opinions given. Not any characters that really stood out, except I did find the impassioned speech about the science behind cryogenics and mammoths that were probably still alive when they were made into steaks by Siberians. I thought that was, the MST3K guys definitely gave us some cues there as to how funny that was. And the female lead, as Tony said, kind of wooden, and I always think that the style of acting, even if the acting isn't great, I like to watch movies from this era and previous because the style of acting was so different and cultivated. The accents, the transatlantic sort of dialect, the general dialect that everybody used was so carefully cultivated, and there was a sort of dry, snappy quality about things that was popular, and I guess that caused the humorous things to kind of stand out a little bit in contrast. I felt kind of sorry for the guys at the weather station. They were probably my favorite. And I think Fred the mantis actually had the most. He had the most sympathetic characterization, especially at the moment of his death. I think he was misunderstood. And I mean, how would you feel if you got thawed out after hundreds of thousands of years, and then suddenly everyone was throwing stuff at you and trying to shoot you, and you're just trying to find something to eat because you haven't eaten in 100,000 years. And I think the theory of something practically being crushed under its own weight is a reason enough for the fact that he couldn't be as fierce as like a normal-sized mantis. He was really trying, I could tell, up to the bitter end. So, I thought that his acting was probably my favorite. And the airplanes, they all did a great job too, with translations by Tom and Crow. So those are my thoughts on the characterization in this movie. Back to net NV5F.
Now, Virginia, that's exactly why I like this net, is because you bring, and people bring out substance and things we hadn't thought of before. And you made Fred a sympathetic character, almost a tragic character in the end. I mean, he's just sitting there trying to eat. And they did, maybe, they cut the scenes where he popped the heads off those really nice guys up there. Maybe he wouldn't have been as sympathetic if we'd seen that, but, even still, he was trying to do his best. He was winging his way across America, trying to find solace and food and other things. He did find a bus, though, shook some of the people out and ate them, but, hey, he's just trying to do his thing. Sad. It truly is. Next up, K0FER. Chris, your comments on characterization. Don't forget about Fred.
Rest assured I won't, but first, I want to talk about the rest of the characterization. Mostly, people have commented about how bland or stock it was, but where you see bland, I see subversive. Something that is trying to, like the Mantis, fly under the radar. The use of Marge, who some have described as having the sex appeal of a wooden block, I think is actually trying to subtly highlight the homoeroticism in the U.S. Army and get around the Hays Code of the era. The attraction to the ingenue of this film is very forced, and I think it's some isolated men who enjoy their own company trying to project something so that they can fit in. And I think that this film was trying to subtly show that existed even back in 1957. So her blasé performance and sex appeal actually served a very cardinal purpose to the true meaning of the film. But we cannot forget Fred. Fred was robbed, Best Actor, 1957, 1958. Alec Guinness, I don't know why he got it, but Fred even had the best death scene of the movie. The longest, most consequential. He's mortally wounded. Wasn't an insta-death. Wasn't an off-screen kill. He even had a very quick horror movie-esque pseudo revival at the end. Second death. Man, brilliant filmmaking, brilliant acting, all around. Of course, I'm joking. K0 FER, back to net.
Now you see, Chris, you pulled out subtext in the film, even though there were no submarines, although they probably could have used one or two in there. But you brought out additional information, things we hadn't thought of. And now when we watch this film with Fred and the boys, we're going to have a whole different view of this film. And I think people are crossing out comments they were making and shifting their focus over to the subtext, or the submarine text. All right, next is Brandon, KI5SXE. Brandon, what did you think of characterization, particularly Fred?
I thought that, well, first of all, I don't think that I bring as much as everyone else does to the table, but I will say I was pleasantly surprised by the characterization. I don't think a lot of people paid attention to them, but the soldiers that were running around fighting Fred initially, about halfway through the movie, they were in the pool hall, and then all of a sudden it was just like arms, grab the rifles, get outside. I thought they did a pretty good job at just hectic, crazy manning battle stations. And then Fred, one thing I was kind of surprised at is the amount of damage Fred did in the small amount of time that Fred was on the base and running around and stuff. It seems like every time they had a cut to people in the buildings, Fred was damaging the roof and knocking things into them, and it was quite interesting. So kudos to Fred again, just for maximizing his damage. I think that characterization was quite liberal with Fred. This is Kilo India 5 Sierra X-Ray Echo, back to net control.
Now you see, you did add something. Fred was methodical and thoughtful in his destruction. He knew what he needed to do, and yes, the weight was, and he was made out of paper mache, so he didn't have quite the flexibility, the dexterity of others of his species, which were much smaller and made of something other than paper mache. So you make a good point. Oh, by the way, far as characters, you reminded me of Austin Powers. I just want to bring this up because you've seen the film, you know Austin Powers, but if you ever got the DVD, and I imagine it's on the Blu-ray, one of the most hilarious things you see in that film, and I was thinking about it with the expendable soldiers, is on the DVD, there was a press to continue in the DVD, and you would see the death of one of the minions with the machine guns and the hard hats and all that. You know, you got to have a hard hat, you got to have matching jumpsuits, and you got to shoot. And Austin would somehow dispatch one of the one of the bad guys that were there, you know, building something and had to maintain the super fortress and that. And they would be shot and they would die. And you press the button, and it would be some home somewhere, and the wife would answer the phone, and all you could hear was her conversation. Bill, my husband, he's gone. What happened? He fell in a vat of sharks? No, it was his last day at work there. It's so sad. And they had every widow got a phone call in the movie, which I thought was pretty hilarious. But at any rate, if you get a chance, you got to get the DVD and watch that sometime. It's the first film, I think. Next up is Brenda, WB5OZL. Miss Brenda, your comments on characterizations for this film, The Deadly Mantis, from KE5ICX. Guess who fell asleep? This is the second week in a row. She did it again. Well, we'll come back to her. I'll try and wake her up here on chat. Next up will be Jay, KG5BZW. Jay, what'd you think of characterization for the Deadly Mantis?
KG5BZW. Oh, characterization. I must have gone to sleep because I didn't catch the first part. I don't remember any of the people really. There wasn't that much story. I mean, I guess there was some, but the characters. I just can't really think of anything. I don't know. I remember, okay, I just going different places and then following it, and that's really it. I just can't think of much anything character-wise. It's just, there isn't much to say. I think I'm already zoned out here, so I guess I'll hang around, try to hang around for the last bit, but anyway, KG5BZW, back to that.
All right, that's okay, Jay. All of us, many people on this net tonight spent their day at the Frontiers of Flight Museum, so they had a full day. I don't know about you, but in order to stay awake till midnight, which is typically what happens, I have to take a nap. I took a 2-hour nap between TrafficNet and Skynet. I mean, I took 2 hours so that I could be awake for this net. So that's why a lot of times why you don't hear me on TechNet is because I'm sleeping. I'm taking a little nappy because I need it. All right, let's see here. I think Justin may still be there. KI5UUJ. Justin, does this film remind you? Well, I mean, you know, let me ask you this: what do you think would be a perfect actor in a bug movie? And do you think, mantises can act? I think those are good questions to ask you, and they are related to the characterization. So what do you got for us, if you're still there? You might have run away or turned the radio off or thrown it in a bucket of water. Who knows? KI5UUJ from KE5ICF. They are dropping like victims of praying mantises. Okay, let's see here. Oh, I didn't ask Ron. Ron, you got anything you want to say? N5SQA, are you still there? I think I skipped over you because there was a space in my thing here. But would you be willing to watch this film sometime? Maybe invite friends over, have a cocktail party, and watch The Deadly Mantis?
Yeah, well, some of that. I'd be willing to invite friends over, have a cocktail party, but probably not watch that movie, based on what I've heard. Your most recent question was who's to play an insect. Well, I have to give a shout-out to Vincent D'Onofrio. He played an insect pretty convincingly. What else? There's probably something else I was thinking to say, but I endorse naps. N5SQA.
Oh, excellent. Good. I'm glad. As you get older, naps become more and more important. I had to look him up. He was the guy in Men in Black, and I think didn't he play the? I don't know. I think he may have played the insect guy thing, whatever he was in that. I have to go back and look. But yes, which is another series I just love. I think those things are so fun. Even the bad ones are fun. Okay, next is Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, your thought on characterization. I know you got something to say about this. Please go ahead from KE5ICX.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. I don't really have a lot to add to this, other than I agree with what everybody said. I don't think there's any true, real deep subplots in this one. I think it was what you see is what you get. I think all the characters were pretty simple. One thing I did forget to mention earlier is I thought the plot that was kind of funny that they fired missile upon missile on this thing from the planes, but yet running a plane physically into it is what took it down. So I thought that was kind of silly. That's how they've only done it. The characters weren't nothing really special. As people mentioned, the love story was very forced. But I agree. I think Brendan mentioned it that they got certain things that they have to do in every movie, and so they literally just forced it in there. The Army guys, I guess, were Army guys. The one guy there that was obviously after the girl was, I think, almost borderline creepy. Fred by far was the best character. I will give credit for Fred for being able to take his huge claws and cut that little tiny hole in the airplane and pick the people out. That was pretty impressive. That took some serious skill. So I'll give him that. Without a doubt, Fred was probably the best character if we're sticking with the movie. Now, obviously, if we want to talk about the Mystery Science Theater, they were very compelling characters on there. And yes, naps are awesome. I agree. As you get older, I also usually take a little tiny nap on Saturday. Back to that, KB9SOK.
Very good. All right. Well, we definitely have another discussion about naps, which I couldn't live without a nap. I love naps. They're wonderful. All right. Oh, Brenda woke up. I'm sorry. I'm really tired and no nap. That's what she says. So I'm going to go to Brenda. Brenda, WB5OZL. We were talking about characterization, and you missed that part. You want to tell us about that? And then I may call on N5IMS. He's out there as well. But I'll start with Brenda. Brenda, what do you think of characterization?
This is JWST. Yeah, it is late, and I'm tired, and it was a really long and tiring day. Although I didn't do any real work, it's just a really active day. Bunch of cardboard characters, that's for sure. Most of these movies, I can't tell the people apart, except that one of them was a female. I could tell her apart from the others, although she never made any coffee like a good girl should. And a lot of these, she'll get up, make sandwiches and coffee, and do her job. But this one didn't do anything, just took pictures. But the guys, I know we had Perry Mason's assistant, Paul Drake, was, I guess his name was Ned. And his last name, I think, is Hopper. Anyway, he was, a little more distinctive than the others. I could tell him apart, but most of the others, I do apologize. Most of the others, I couldn't tell them apart, so I don't know. Even when I go look it up and look at their names and the actors, it just fades. These guys are really bad shots. How is it you've got the United States Air Force with fighter planes. You can't shoot a bug out of the sky. And they didn't seem to notice that they were totally inept. There's a lot of things they didn't seem to notice. So, well, I think I'm out of stuff to say. Back to net, WB50ZL.
Okay, that's fine. I sense fatigue. Everyone had a long day today, so I'm going to do some different things here. But first, before I ask for just some final comments, I'm going to go to JJ, N5IMS. He's over here typing away. JJ, you got anything you want to tell us about the film? I know you're a fan of these because you have a whole collection of these. In fact, this film is in volume 2 of really bad science fiction films that people have seen. So if you'd like to say something on the radio, now's your opportunity because I see you chatting over here on Echo Wing. What are you going to say? Tell us. What do you think about this film?
Well, it actually sounds like a film that if you suspend belief and, your mind, just enjoy watching the film as a method of just watching the film instead of, actually analyzing it and, does this make sense? Does that make sense? Just enjoying it. It might actually be kind of fun, or at least funny, when you're watching it. So I may actually try and hunt it up in my collection to see if I can and watch it. But no, I'm afraid I did not get a chance to watch this fine film. But I may actually hunt through my collections and see if I can find it on one of them, and see if your people are just giving good comments just to see who they can sucker into watching it, or if it actually is, one of those suspend belief and just enjoy spending a few hours or, an hour and a half or whatever, just watching it and, laughing at the stupid things they do. And, it sounds like Fred is the person to keep an eye on, and I'm pretty sure that I would try and find him and enjoy what Fred does, and of course keep making Flintstones references and the like, but knowing that it's not really the Flintstones. They had nothing to do with it, but it would be a fun film to watch. It sounds like. So even though I didn't watch it, I'm enjoying the conversation and the discussion, and might actually get out and try and watch the film if it's on one of my collections. This is N5IMS, back to net. Thanks for calling on me.
All right, thank you, JJ. And it is on the Classic Sci-Fi Ultimate Collection Volume 2. It's right next to Volume 1, to your right in the little cabinet there. So look for it. I think it's in a tin. I'm pretty positive it's there. And that's a nice red shirt you're wearing tonight, too. I can see it over the radio. Okay. Oh, and by the way, it's had its first showing on Svengoolie this past Saturday. I thought it was maybe part of the rotation, but no, its debut on Svengoolie was July 9th, 2022. It appeared on Mystery Science Theater 3000 on February of 1997. So there you have it. All right, this is what I'm going to do. I know people are fatigued tonight because not everybody got naps. So on this final round, I'm going to allow you to decide if you want to speak rather than me calling on you. So this is what we'll do. The final round is anything you want to talk about. You can also include the special effects, or in this case, maybe not so special effects. Anything you may have missed on the previous round that you got to tell us about, or some antidote that you want to talk about with taking naps. So in order to do that, I'll just ask for you to come with your call sign, and we'll go down that list. So please come now if you've got some final comments on taking naps or the deadly mantis. Please come now.
K0FER.
November, Tango 5, Tango Mike.
November 5, Sierra, Quebec Alpha.
All right, we got three brave souls. I'll ask again after these three. So K0FER, Chris, go ahead with your comments.
A few things. First, Tom, I want to say thank you for providing such a necessary service to our community and providing the respite for our weary souls and lulling so many of us to peaceful slumber. It's hard enough to find good sleep, but you are doing your part. Thank you so much. Something I want to ask Annette is, what was your favorite MST3K quip for this? One of the ones that stuck out for me was kind of early on when they were investigating the wreckage in the North Pole or the polar region. I'll turn those to it. But yeah, I enjoyed this film mainly because of the context.
Okay, Chris, you were starting to fade. I think if you're on a handy talker, your battery is about to go. But I heard your comment, but everybody dared me to say it because there's a little chat going on over here about one of the lines. And the MST3K guy says, "Got a mantis in your pantis?" And of course, he said, "Are you going to say that on the air?" Of course, I just did. So it's fine. It's cool. It's great. They're groovy. Okay, next up is Tony, NT5TM. Tony, your parting comments on this fine film, or napping.
Well, thank you, Tom. I like the Mantis and the Pantis line, too. I thought that was pretty darn funny. I did have a nap. It was vital to my sanity. Very important thing, that nap. For anyone who doubts that the Air Force could fail to shoot down a flying bug in the 1950s, look up the Battle of Palmdale. This is outside of L.A. The Battle of Palmdale, where two Air Force planes fired hundreds of rockets at an unpiloted World War II propeller plane, and these were jets. And what they mainly managed to do was to set some of the suburbs of L.A. on fire, burn up a lot of grass and cropland and so forth. That just seems to be kind of a low point in Air Force history, with all the amazing accurate gunfire of World War II and then the cool guided missiles they had later. The 50s seemed to have been a low point of the Air Force actually shooting things, at least that part of the 50s. So yeah, the Battle of Palmdale. It didn't matter how big it was, how slow it was, even if it wasn't trying to dodge at all. They just couldn't shoot things down. NT5TM.
Yes, must have inspired stormtroopers everywhere. Who knows? Very good. Okay, next up is Ron, N5SQA. Ron, enlighten us, please, sir, from KE5ICX.
It's late. I've run out of light. It was interesting listening to you guys, and now I'm going to take a hopefully 6 or 7 hour nap. N5SQA.
It's the best thing ever. Okay, anyone else have any comments? Please come with your call.
Kilo India 5, Whiskey Alpha Victor.
All right, I've got KI5WAV. I'll be right back to you. And there was another station that managed to key the repeater, but I heard no audio. If you came after WAV, please try again.
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey.
All right, I got KG5BZW. Was there anyone else? Okay, we picked up two, so I got KI5WAV. Welcome to the net. If you don't mind, could I have your name? And please go ahead with your comments.
Good evening, this is Morgan Case. We're talking about naps here.
Yeah, we're just about to finish up, but we've been talking about every Saturday night at 10:30 to about 12. We talk about usually science fiction films. Some of them are actually good, most of them are not. And tonight's movie is The Deadly Mantis from 1957. And the universal thought is, it was, So, have you seen the film, Morgan?
No, I haven't seen the film, but I've been looking forward to all the talk about it. I've been looking forward to watching it and seeing what it's all about.
All right, well, excellent. If you can stay awake a few more minutes, I'll give all the information on the movies and how we watch them and all that stuff on the closing comments. But we're glad you're here. Thank you for dropping by. Next is Jay, KG5BZW. Jay, you got a parting shot for us. What do you got?
Yeah, KG5BZW. They always had the jets shooting for the main body of the impenetrable carpet of the gigantic mantis, and there's these things called wings. Why weren't And it was just so obvious that it was so alarmingly dumb that nothing was ever targeting the wings, the most limited structure. It's just, that was so silly. But I mean, the whole thing, when they first had some sort of diagram, I didn't even recognize their diagram as when they first brought up a possibility, maybe it's a mantis or something. Like, it looked like a locust or something. It didn't even look like a mess. And then, of course, there's the jaws of the mantis, which, if you know anything about insects, a lot of jaws are right, left, not up, down. So, like, but of course, whatever. That's just the way they like to do things. Okay, NRAD, KG5EZW.
Now, you're getting picky about how praying mantis fly, and you say it looks like a locust, but this is a paper mache deadly mantis. So he's limited in how he can fly. Plus, he's heavy, and he's bred, and he's depressed because people are shooting at him. You probably wouldn't fly very well if you were being shot at. It does happen, occasionally, especially if you're flying without an airplane, of course. All right, let me see here. Let me check something here real quick. Yes, Brenda says, I can't believe our comments would ever inspire anyone to watch a movie. That's very true, Brenda, but we keep coming back for more. She sent me a little note in the chat thing here. All right, what's going to happen? Next week's movie is a gem I've never heard of before. It's a groovy film. I think it's an English film from 1969 called The Monitors. It has a lot of groovy stuff in it. So that'll be next week's movie. And a suggested movie that came up on Facebook is I'm going to go and check it out and see if we can put it in rotation. It is a prequel to Close Encounters of the Third Kind. They call it a TV pilot. I think this is a fan-produced thing, but it looks pretty professional. So we'll take a look and see if that's worthy of putting it in the rotation. Just about anything ends up in rotation, so you never know. And I never watch these things because I don't want to, ruin the ending if there is one. So there you have it. So next week's movie is, what did I say? The Monitors from 1969. So how do you find this information and find out about the movies if you fall asleep, which most people do, is you can send an email to me at my call sign, Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, KE5ICX @yahoo.com, and I will send you next week's movie and synopsis. In fact, I do that usually on Sunday morning, so you'll get the info on the Monitors and where you can see it. You always try and find movies that you can see for free and legally, and the Monitors does fall into that category, although I've never heard of it before. Another way you can find out about the movies is on Facebook. Go to Afterglow Movie, that's 2 words, Afterglow and the word movie, and be invited and say you'd like to join the group. There is a document in there that will show you what future movies are. I usually do it 3 weeks in advance, so we had the Deadly, 2 weeks. Next week's The Monitor, and then after that is The Device, unless we do Close Encounters, which I may throw in there. We'll see. So that's how it all works, and just let me know. I added Thomas here, who was on the net tonight, to the list just yesterday, and he did participate. So by all means, do one or the other or both. It's fine by me. I'll send the information out. All right, any final comments? Anything anybody wants to bring to our net this evening before I close?
KF5WFE.
I think that was Brandon, KI5SXE. Go ahead. Oh, maybe not. the KI5 station, come on back. I misinterpreted your call, I guess.
Kilo India 5, Whiskey Alpha Victor.
Oh, Morgan, go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir, I would like to hear a discussion on the Close Encounters of the Third Kind. That's always a classic. I'd love to hear about it.
All right, we'll see what we can do. Now, remember, this is a prequel TV pilot or something. I have no idea if it's any good. We do good films. We've done all the really good films, but every once in a while we come back because, well, we've been doing this net for, I don't know, 6, 7 years now. So there's plenty of folks that have come and gone and entered and left and all that, so we can redo them. Tell you what, we actually did Close Encounters a couple of years ago for Field Day. We had it on a big screen, and I mean a big screen. It was pretty darn cool. We did it at Alfred Media. They had all the equipment, and we watched that film on a big screen LED display in high def with great sound. I think most theaters were not that good, so we put the A-list movie on there, and it was fantastic. We had a lot of fun with that. That was a one-time only, but it sure was really cool. And if you've got any suggestions, Morgan, on films that you would like to see and we can watch together, by all means, bring them. And I'll see. Close Encounters is always a favorite. My favorite, of course, is 2001: A Space Odyssey, and I like Fifth Element's another. We tried to watch Fifth Element, but it went off of the free thing, so we didn't get a chance to see it. We missed it by a couple of days. What do you think?
Well, I say go for it. It wouldn't hurt to try again.
Oops, I lost my foot pedal. It went underneath the desk here. Okay, I'll put an asterisk around it, see what we can do. It's probably time that we got some really good films again. It's been a while. We go through a lot of these films nobody's seen before, and there's also been a lot of films that have been made for streaming that will go to some of the free streaming sites. And they'll pay for it because what they'll do is they'll put advertising in them. And these are films that are like what would have been a few years ago art house films or low-budget films that for niche audiences. And they're starting to appear, many of them only in the last, 3 to 5 years. So, and I've got several in here. One's called Earth to Echo, Alien Outpost, Alien Outpost, Creature of Destruction in... Oh, that's a regular film. So we've got those available. So and there's more. There's plenty more. Tubi has a bunch of films that are new to us. I don't know if they're good for us, but they are new to us. All right, with that, I'm going to say 7-3, everybody. I had a good time. I actually had a lot of fun tonight. I wasn't sure this film would really bring us much to the net, but it really did, and it was quite fun. We'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat station. Lost in Space comes on in a little bit. It's the Space Hillbillies episode from season 1. I know that because I saw the program grid tonight. Not one of the better ones, but hey, it's got Mercedes Cambridge in it. How bad could it be? The answer is pretty bad. See y'all. 7-3. This is KE5ICX. I'm clear.
Tom, I've got a quick MST3K comment for you.
Go, JJ.
I'm not saying this is my absolute favorite line from the MST3K because there are so many good ones, but I keep going back and could be that I've seen the film, their version of the film, several times, but it was their film or critique of Gamera, or watching Gamera, and the line I remember the most out of that is, "Hey, look, there goes Gamera, honey, quick, my camera." This is N5INS.
Ah, yes, the flying jet turtle. Who couldn't love that? The only reason I knew about that is that my brother loved that movie. So I think was that the one, or is that wasn't it the turtle with the fangs?
Yes, it was. And then there was a clip of the turtle kind of spinning around. I think he was fighting Godzilla or whatever, and Godzilla hit him and got him spinning around, and so he was looked like he was doing gymnastics. And I said, "Look, it's what's her name? The gymnast Nelson, I believe. But the gymnast, the very popular Olympic gymnast at the time. No, Kathy Rigby Nelson, I believe, was her name. But you gotta love their comments. Of course, they've seen the film about a dozen times and written down all the good comments, so that they're able to select and get them. But I enjoy the MST3K people. They're doing good. Now, I prefer the original crew to the later ones, but still, it's fun. This is N5INS.
Yeah, the one thing I can tell you about that is quite fascinating is that it keeps coming back. It's got like 9 lives, and Netflix did it for a couple of years, and then it was canceled. But I think Joel Hobson, I think the guy, who's keeping it alive, he had a GoFundMe, and he got whatever amount of money he was asking for, and it was not a trivial amount. And they funded a whole season of new ones, and they've got another season of new ones they're doing. So I'll have to find it. I think they have their own website for that. I don't know if they charge or not because of the GoFundMe part, but they were able to produce new episodes. And I don't know. I like the Netflix ones. They were quite fun. I agree. I like the original group, but they keep. It's still funny with whomever they do it with. So I enjoy them, and it was fun watching it the other night. Actually, Friday night, last night. Yeah, no, night before last, Friday night I watched it. And it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I know that they originally were just making sure that they did films that no longer had any copyright or anybody really caring anything about them and using them, so they were, just really old, and good films to critique like that, kind of like what we do here. But then they went in there and started getting some newer ones, and a lot of that was because the people that were in it or were producing it or what have you, called them up or got in touch with them and said, how come you never do one of my films? They would be perfect for you. And they said, well, we need to make sure that we have all the rights, and it's copyright and stuff. He said, oh, don't worry about that. Just have your people call my people, and we'll work it in there. Maybe give me $1, and we'll call it even, something like that. I mean, it's fun. That's how you should have a movie or a show like that, where people want to have their film critiqued by your people. This is N5INS.
W5FC.
Yeah, I agree with with you. And there have been various variations on that, you'll see. But MST3K did the whole riff with watching the movies, and it's lasted, what, 30 years now? So it works. It does work. All right, well, I'm going to watch probably the first act of Lost in Space, and then I'm going to go to bed. I may even grab a little bit to eat. I'm kind of hungry. I ate this afternoon at the museum, but now I'm starting to get hungry, so I'm going to have a little midnight snack, too. So I'll catch you next time, JJ. It's good always talking to you, and you have a good evening. And everybody, whoever's listening, I had a lot of fun tonight. This was a fun movie to talk about. So see y'all later. This is KE5ICX. I really am clear now.
Take care. I enjoy talking too, and we'll talk to y'all later. And 7-3, and enjoy your food, your snack, and your sleep. You need it. You've had a busy day. This is N5IMS, clear 7-3.
Kilo India 5, Sierra X-Ray Echo, 73 all. Thanks for having the net tonight.
The time is 12:05 a.m.